Okay, so get ready for this, because we are diving into some seriously ancient Islamic wisdom that might just blow your mind.
Oh, I'm ready.
It has to do with Qiyam Al-Layl,
Okay.
which is, night prayer. But here's the twist. We're not just talking about the spiritual benefits.
Right.
We're going to explore what this ancient practice might reveal about our physical health.
It is really interesting, how this Islamic text that we're looking at tonight connects night prayer to like our overall well-being. Like one of the benefits actually listed in the hadith, which is a saying attributed to the Prophet Muhammad, is that night prayer is hujye akasote.
Okay, so break that down for me. What does that actually mean?
Yeah, so that translates to driving away disease from the body.
Wow.
So basically it's saying that night prayer helps to keep you healthy. And before we get into like the how, let's actually just clarify what Qiyam Al-Layl even involves, right? It's a voluntary prayer performed during the night, typically after the obligatory evening prayer and before, pre-dawn prayer.
Gotcha.
And it can consist of a specific number of prayer cycles known as rahas. And it often involves reciting verses from the Quran and engaging in like personal supplications.
Interesting. So it's not just about like sleep disruption. There's a whole like structured practice here.
Absolutely.
But the text, I feel like it goes deeper than just saying it's good for you, right? Like what does it say about how this driving away disease actually happens?
Yeah, so there are a couple of explanations that the text offers.
Okay.
And they're beautifully intertwined, but one focuses on the spiritual and mental aspect.
Okay.
So the idea is that Qiyam Al-Layl cultivates peace and this like inner strength, helping you to manage psychological stress, which as we know in modern times can definitely impact physical health.
Absolutely. That's thought-provoking. I'm curious to learn more about how the text makes a connection between night prayer and our physical bodies.
Well, the second explanation gets a bit more into what we might call the scientific realm.
Okay.
So the text emphasizes that night prayer helps to regulate your body's natural rhythms.
Okay, hold on. So could you like elaborate on that?
Okay.
How does praying at night affect my body's rhythms?
Well, this is where we can connect it to the concept of the circadian rhythm, which is basically your body's internal clock. And it regulates, not only your sleep-wake cycle, but also hormone production, body temperature, even cognitive function.
Okay, so the circadian rhythm is like the conductor of our body's orchestra. Make sure everything is like in sync.
Exactly.
Where does night prayer fit into all of this?
Well, it's fascinating because this centuries-old text pinpoints the last third of the night as crucial, which aligns perfectly with modern science's understanding of when our bodies produce key hormones like melatonin and cortisol.
Wait, hold on. Is the text actually suggesting a link between prayer and hormone balance? Tell me more about how it makes that connection.
Well, the text obviously doesn't use like modern scientific terms or anything,
Right.
but it does emphasize the importance of this particular time of night for spiritual connection and its potential influence on well-being. And modern science has discovered that this is when melatonin, which regulates sleep, and cortisol, which plays a role in managing stress, are produced.
Okay, that's a really interesting connection. So are you saying that the text is implying that night prayer during this time could impact our hormone levels?
Potentially.
And therefore our health?
Yeah.
So it's wild to think that this ancient text, right, might be onto something that modern science is only now starting to understand.
Yeah.
So what other kinds of specific health benefits does the text actually highlight when it comes to Qiyam Al-Layl?
Well, if we kind of delve deeper into what the text suggests, it seems to imply that night prayer, particularly during that last third of the night, could help regulate our sleep cycles and maybe even address sleep disorders like insomnia.
Okay, so hold on. The text is saying that night prayer could actually help with sleep.
Yeah.
How does it explain that connection?
Well, remember, the text emphasizes those spiritual and mental aspects of Qiyam Al-Layl.
Yeah.
So it suggests that taking that time for like quiet reflection and prayer can calm the mind, reducing those like racing thoughts and worries that often keep us awake.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like creating a mental space for peace and stillness.
Right.
So the body can kind of follow suit and rest.
Exactly.
But the text goes beyond just sleep, right? What about like the physical health benefits we were talking about earlier?
Absolutely. The text also seems to link night prayer with heart health,
Okay.
hinting at a connection with blood pressure regulation.
That's interesting. What kind of evidence does the text offer to support that connection?
Well, it doesn't present like scientific evidence the way we understand it today.
Right.
However, it does highlight, again, that calming effect of Qiyam Al-Layl on the body and the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And as we know from modern science, stress can be a major contributing factor to, high blood pressure.
Oh, for sure.
So the text seems to be drawing a connection between, those stress reduction benefits of night prayer and the potential for improved heart health.
Okay, so it's more about creating a state of overall well-being
Yeah,
that could then have positive ripple effects on various systems in the body,
exactly.
including the cardiovascular system.
Right.
What about other conditions? Does the text mention anything about things like diabetes?
Yes, it does actually touch upon diabetes.
Oh, wow.
Remember our discussion about cortisol, the stress hormone?
Yeah.
Well, it also plays a role in regulating blood sugar levels. So the text seems to suggest that night prayer, by promoting that calmness and reducing stress,
Yeah.
could help to balance cortisol levels and contribute to better blood sugar control.
Wow, that's pretty fascinating. It's like this ancient practice is addressing some of the most prevalent health concerns we face today, even though it was written centuries ago.
Right.
It's amazing.
It's really interesting.
And there's more. The text also hints at potential benefits for mental health conditions like anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
I can definitely see how the quiet contemplation
Maybe.
and connection with something greater than oneself that Qiyam Al-Layl offers could provide solace and reduce those feelings of anxiety. Does the text elaborate on that at all?
It suggests that engaging in night prayer can cultivate, inner peace
Yeah.
and a sense of serenity,
Mhm.
which can be incredibly valuable in managing mental health challenges.
For sure.
It emphasizes the importance of seeking solace and strength through prayer and reflection during times of difficulty.
So it's not just about the physical act of praying,
Yeah.
but about the mental and emotional state that it cultivates. Does the text suggest any other benefits? I'm really curious to see how far this goes.
Well, you might be surprised to learn that it even touches on the immune system.
Seriously.
Yeah.
How does it make that connection?
It's important to remember that the text is approaching health from a holistic perspective.
Oh.
It emphasizes this interconnectedness of our spiritual, mental, and physical well-being.
Right.
And while it doesn't provide specific scientific mechanisms, it suggests that, by promoting inner peace, reducing stress, and fostering a sense of connection with the divine, Qiyam Al-Layl, can strengthen the body's natural defenses.
So to recap, we're talking about potential benefits for sleep, heart health, blood sugar control, mental well-being, and even immunity.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing how this one practice is linked to so many different aspects of our health.
It's certainly a thought-provoking perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It really is. And it highlights the importance of considering ancient wisdom alongside our modern scientific understanding. But I have to ask, if this Qiyam Al-Layl practice is potentially so beneficial, why isn't it more widely known or practiced even outside of religious contexts?
That's a great question,
Yeah.
and one we can explore further in part 3.
Oh.
There are a number of cultural and societal factors that might play a role, as well as some common misconceptions about what Qiyam Al-Layl actually involves.
All right, well, stay tuned, everybody, because we are going to get into that in just a minute.
Yeah.
So let's get back to this question that's been kind of bugging me. If Qiyam Al-Layl is potentially so beneficial, for our well-being, why isn't it more common? Even outside of its religious context.
Yeah, it's an important point to consider. One key factor is, of course, that cultural and religious context we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
Qiyam Al-Layl it's rooted in Islamic tradition. So for many, it's inseparable from their faith and their practice.
Right. It's not just some life hack you pick up.
Right.
It's a deeply spiritual practice.
Exactly. And that can create a barrier for people from, different backgrounds who might not feel comfortable adopting a practice so closely associated with a specific religion.
It's there's this unspoken assumption. That's for them, not for me.
Yeah, that's a common perception, and it kind of ties into another challenge, which is misconceptions.
Huh.
There's often a lack of understanding about what Qiyam Al-Layl even involves.
Yeah, I can see how people might have these preconceived notions
Right.
or even just misinformation about it.
Absolutely. They might imagine, strict rituals or something, intimidatingly foreign. But in reality, Qiyam Al-Layl is about finding that quiet space for personal reflection and connection, regardless of, your background or your beliefs.
So it's less about rigid rules and more about cultivating that inner peace, that we've been talking about.
Precisely. Yeah. It's about tapping into our own natural rhythms, finding that stillness in those quiet hours when, the world is asleep.
That actually sounds incredibly appealing in our fast-paced, always-on world.
Yeah.
It's like giving ourselves permission to like unplug
Right.
and reconnect with something deeper.
Yeah, and that's where the true essence of this practice really lies. It's about nurturing that connection between, mind, body, and spirit, recognizing that they're not like separate entities, but they're intertwined aspects of our being.
So it's not just about, the physical act of praying, but about the mental and spiritual benefits that kind of ripple outward from that practice.
Exactly. And those benefits are universal, regardless of, your beliefs or your background.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
Yeah, it has.
We started by exploring this ancient Islamic text about Qiyam Al-Layl and ended up uncovering this like wellspring of wisdom about the interconnectedness of our well-being,
Right.
physical, mental, and spiritual.
Yeah, it really speaks to the enduring power of ancient wisdom and its relevance to our modern lives.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with one final thought. If our spiritual and physical health are so interwoven, how can we all, regardless of our, beliefs, better tune in to our own body's natural rhythms?
That's a powerful question to ponder. Perhaps the answer lies in finding that space within ourselves.
Yeah.
That stillness amidst the noise, where we can kind of reconnect with our inner wisdom and tap into the profound potential of being present in the moment.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll leave you to explore that question. Keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.